Now, I mentioned we have two speakers. I'll be introducing the first person, Susan Pritchard, who is with her husband Paul, is one of the founders of this organization. Organization, Rob, or we? This operation, this event, yeah, Cosa Nostra, this thing of ours. Anyway, Susan's a Michigan native with 20 years of corporate and agency experience in the paper industry, pharmaceuticals, consumer products. Now she's a landlord and a small business owner. Her business is the Washington Street Gallery and Gift in Charlestown, featuring a bunch of local artists. Very, very nice. And we were there this weekend in the wind and the weather and all that. And very nice place. So Susan, take it away.
Yay. So that I don't forget, I want to introduce three of the members or associates at the gallery who were wonderful enough to come today. Elaine Moselle is a textile artist who lives in Charlestown. Ray Darby is a textile artist who lives just over the river in person. We discovered soon after we opened the gallery that there's such a breadth and depth of talent in the Eastern Panhandle that now if Ray came to me and said, I want to be in the gallery, I would say no. Too bad. She makes custom jackets, so she's wearing one of her jackets. And Rip Smith, I know a lot of you know Rip, photographer extraordinaire from right here in Martinsburg. And Judy Jeffries, raise your hand. Judy is one of the, and is now president of the Heritage Craft Center of the Eastern Panhandle, one of several artists who are at the gallery who are part of Heritage Craft Center of the Eastern Panhandle, which is a nonprofit that's dedicated to preserving traditional arts and crafts and to teaching people how to do those. So it's a real privilege to have a partnership with them. I wear two hats. In fact, I have a strange situation. I am my own tenant and I am my own landlord. And we thought it would be interesting to think about things from two perspectives when Paul suggested that I talk just a little bit. We own property here in Martinsburg, basically an apartment building. But in Charlestown, where the gallery is, we have a large historic building, which street level is business, retail, commercial. Second story has an apartment. And a couple of years ago, we lost our biggest tenant in Charlestown, Wells Fargo Home Mortgage, not surprisingly. You know, they didn't need their office anymore. And we were faced with the challenge of finding a new tenant. And quite frankly, there weren't people banging down our doors. Paul and I have sort of harbored, a not so secret interest in the arts, and Paul in particular draws himself. So we came up with the concept of creating a business that would be our own tenant, with the thought that if the business were successful, then it would throw off at least some rent. And in fact, that has occurred. Paul had the vision to create an art gallery, art/craft gallery, dedicated to local artists. And we now have 50 people affiliated with the gallery. As I said, 4 of them are here. And a key element in the success of the gallery has very much been listening to what they had to say about what we should do with the space. Their ideas, their help, I mean physically coming in and painting or whatever needed to be done. And I think also their belief in the business concept of a gallery dedicated to local artists. By the way, we now have some authors also, because as a writer, I feel like that's an art too. The business concept is an unusual one in that it's we do not sell products that are a necessity. So we have our niche of locally made arts, crafts, books. It's a consignment model. So as a business person, one of the reasons that I keep my costs low is I don't have to buy any inventory. But Dana's got that one knocked too. And then thirdly, a key element is I actually have the privilege of having about 50 volunteers. The people whose work is in the gallery, like Rip, Judy, Ray, and Elaine, donate their time because it's sort of a community effort. And they realized from the beginning that the effort wasn't going to occur or be successful unless each of them was willing to give a little bit of their time. 5 or 6 hours a month is all we ask for. And the other element that is crucial to the success of the operation is coordination and management. And my husband, as everyone knows, is the visionary, and anybody who knows me knows that I'm the detail person. So I'm the one who coordinates the volunteers, does the bookkeeping, tracks the inventory, and does all the paperwork, because even though we don't have to do things like unemployment, workers' comp, we still have to pay taxes, we have to get licenses, both with the city and also with the state. I think in particular, people who own property, those of you who are landlords in the audience who are having trouble filling their spaces, I would recommend that you give some thought to the idea of maybe it's not your very own business, but maybe it's a business that's based more on a sort of a low capitalization model. And for us, that really seems to have worked. And I do think that other products could be featured in a business like that. For example, I was thinking to myself last night, what would work? Perhaps a bakery. If a group of people got together and decided they were going to, each take a day of the week and be the baker for that week and rent a small space from a local landlord. I've heard, but I haven't seen it, that there are actually consignment shops for tools and building supplies, and I can think of an awful lot of men who would love to go into a consignment shop and be able to buy, craftsman tools and things like that. For us, I think our model works because of the vision, because of a lot of hard work, because of good record keeping, and then because of people like you. The gallery has succeeded because it's really been embraced, not just by Charlestown, but by people in this area generally. I actually overheard someone say last week, who was visiting, that they thought the shops in Charlestown had gotten to be as good as the shops in Shepherdstown. It's like, whoa. And I realize I'm standing in Martinsburg, and there's no reason why those kinds of things couldn't work here. Now, I know Judy, for example, had a business here on Queen Street in Martinsburg, and maybe it might even make sense when we go to questions and answers for you to talk a little bit about your business experience, what you learned from it, what what worked, what didn't work. I think that today's economic climate really demands that we all be creative, that we work harder and smarter, and that we network with each other. That's why City Club, I think, is such a good idea. Now, I have the privilege of introducing another successful entrepreneur. Actually, she's really successful because she's been, she's from Pittsburgh, but she had a successful business in Pittsburgh for 8 years, doing residential and commercial cleaning. She moved to Scranton, had another successful business, same line of work, for 9 years. Then she met her husband, Kevin Knowles, who I think all of you know. Where the heck is he?
Watching the store at Stuxedo's.
Oh, bless him. Thank you, Kevin. And traveled the United States for a while, helping Kevin with his businesses. And interestingly enough, spent a year and a half in Barbados and then came here. Talk about vision. And so Dana opened a consignment store, Deja Vu, which is right on Queen Street here in Martinsburg. In 2005, it sells lightly used donated clothing. And I want you to talk about the donated part. And then she discovered that there was a need for tuxedos, tuxedo rental. So in 2008, she started renting tuxedos, also does alterations, by the way, and last year actually expanded to space next door. So she's now a double business, and the second space holds Dana's tuxedos. Today, Kevin's tuxedos. So she would like to talk to you about her experience right here in Martinsburg and talk a little bit about business tips.